the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kisakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. Apologies for the lateness and delay. That's due to sabotage. But yeah, we'll soldier on regardless. But I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. I hope you're enjoying yourselves, whether you're a Barcelona fan, whether you are a Manchester United fan or an Arsenal fan. I'm sure you're pretty delighted. But where there is happiness in the world of football, on the other side is usually some tears or commiserations for some people. So if you're an Aston Villa fan, I'm pretty sure you're not too happy for the result that you did record this weekend. But nonetheless, we will have to we will have to move on regardless and continue with our daily conversation about football. Like I said, Premier League match day 25 kicked off yesterday. That was on Friday night as Leeds United beat up against Nottingham Forest by 3-1, and it continued today with an early kickoff between Manchester United and Tottenham Hotspurs, which Man United managed to win to record their fourth straight victory in as far as Michael Carrick's tenure is concerned. And then on the other side, Arsenal also recorded their second consecutive victory as they continue to recover from their defeat at the hands of Manchester United about a fortnight ago. But like I keep telling you, action is going to come thick and fast because we do have midweek games. But before we even get to that, we have games of tomorrow to continue. So we'll have midweek games going up to, I think that will be, up to Thursday. Yes, up to Thursday. Arsenal will be the last team in action on Thursday. And then the subsequent week, after playing in the FA Cup, they'll have a midweek game for them. And that fixture, I think, had to be moved because later on they will be having somewhere in March, because of the engagements that will have to happen, they will need to have a fixture moved. So their match day 27 will come earlier than most. Before, I don't know how to even call it, because from what the fixture schedule shows, it is enlisted under match day 26, but yeah, Eyekone says Icon. Sorry, I was reading your name the local way. It's Icon. Edit House. Hi. I'm Big Chunks. Hello, Medina. Hello to you too. How are you doing? Thank you for joining us. For those of you that are just joining the channel or the broadcast, my name is Robert Kesakos, and I'm coming to you live from Kampala, Uganda, where it's 5 minutes past midnight. Yes, that means it's 5 minutes past 9 p.m. UK time or London time, and some parts of Europe, whereas it should be around 5 minutes past 2 a.m. in India. So perhaps I will be surprised if I see many of our friends are from India on the broadcast. But Medina, thank you so much. You say you are very nice. Thank you so much. You deserve more likes. Well appreciated. So for those of you that are just joining the broadcast, please like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel if it's your first time here, and help support what we do, help support the channel, help us on our journey of growth, and your efforts will be sincerely much appreciated. For those of you that have recently subscribed to the channel, that have joined the community, I hope you enjoy your stay with us here. For those of you that are sports, non-sports, general life people that keep supporting what we do, Team India, people from the UK, people from Spain, people from Nigeria, people from Uganda, South Africa, Pakistan, and anywhere and everywhere across the world. Recently, we'll be having a colleague of ours join us almost on a daily basis from Jamaica. So thank you so much for the continued love and support. Fadez says, ja, that's, I'm not sure I'm familiar with the language, but you said hello to you too. How are you doing? Where are you joining us from? Let me know where you're joining the conversation from, and I'll give a special shout outs perhaps to your country. I often get excited when I get interactions from different countries. that gives me the encouragement to keep on this journey. It's your love and support that keep us going on this channel and on this journey to keep doing what we love the most. So everything you do to support what we do is much appreciated. Apologies, was just having our framework tested on a different device to see that everything comes out well. I can see I'm almost defying the rule of thirds in one way or the other. So like the headline says, it says it all. Mbuemo Bruno Fernandez fire Man United to fourth in a row. It should be, perhaps I should amend that to fourth win in a row. But anyways, okay. They did fire United to a fourth win in a row, while Arsenal did win their game against Sunderland to go 9 points clear on the Premier League table, waiting for whatever the result will be in tomorrow's Super Sunday fixture between Liverpool and Manchester City, when Man City make the trip to Anfield, where Pep Guardiola describes could be or is arguably the hardest place he has had to go. Pedri, okay. Hi, Pedri. I can see you engaging somebody in what you regard as a familiar, language. You're already asking what's my point. I do not know. I've yet to tally. I know that earlier on today, I was very, very disappointed when Bernard Leno scored an own goal to make it 2-1 for Everton. Yet it had been 1-1. I was destined for a perfect score prediction between Everton and Fulham, but Everton ended up walking away with 3 points. You can imagine the disappointment after all the other disappointments that I had already registered earlier on in the day, including that of Tottenham Hotspurs, because they did receive a red card for Christian Romero for his dangerous tackle against Casemiro, that he received marching orders. I think for the fourth time this season, he's been shown a red card, and that means he is subsequently going to be suspended for the next 4 games. I stand to be corrected, but that means he won't be eligible to feature in the North London Derby on February 22nd, when Arsenal make the trip to Tottenham Hotspurs, because the Arsenal are going to play. They're going to play Brentford. After Brentford, they'll play a game against Wolves. Then they will play Tottenham Hotspurs. Then they will play Chelsea. Yes, I think I stand to be corrected, but that's the order in which I do remember those fixtures. I got a goal difference right for Man United versus Tottenham. It's not the goal difference that counts. But yeah, you got the prediction right. Will you tell me my scores tomorrow evening? We are going to tally up the scores, and I will be letting you know how you performed. I need to look up where I put it. I put your results, yes, because you said United 3-1. You gave Aston Villa 2-0 win against Bournemouth. We know we both lost on that one. You gave Arsenal 3-0 against Sunderland. That was a perfect score prediction for you. Against West Ham, West Ham beat Burnley by 2-0. You gave it 1-0. Fulham 1-1. Everton, we both got that one wrong. Chelsea 3-0 Wolverhampton Wanderers. That was 3-1. So you only have one perfect score prediction so far. Anyways, so I will get to look into that. So, but let's for those of you that are just joining us, please kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel. Let's move into the games as they did go on today, because in the early kickoff, like I told you, Man United put 2 past a 10-man Tottenham Hotspurs, with Mbuemo scoring in the 38th minute of the game. That was almost 10 minutes after the sending off of Christian Romero, who received marching orders in the 29th minute of the game for his dangerous tackle on Casemiro there. And then the game seemed to be, when a team gets reduced to 10 men, there's a way they fight for each other. And Tottenham did enough of that not to give away a lot. Of course, they did concede chances, but Guillermo Vicario, for me, looked brilliant, really, really in goal. And perhaps, as the statistics will show, he made some brilliant saves in that game. He had as many as 8 saves in the game. So that clearly tells you what he sort of had to deal with, or how good a day he had in office, really, or despite the fact that he went on to concede 2 goals, because the second goal came in the 81st minute through Bruno Fernandes. But other than that, Bruno Fernandes had multiple attempts on goal. So did Brian Mbuemo, Matthias Cunha, before he got withdrawn, I think, for Benjamin Sesko. Benjamin Sesko, he himself had an attempt on goal, a ball that we thought he should have brought, he should have controlled to his chest and, go for a shot. He went for a header, and I think that was perhaps the last kick of the game. So United dominated all the affairs of this game, right from possession to shots on goal, because they had as many as 23 shots on goal, and 10 of those were on target. But like I said, they were not clinical enough, because they eventually only scored 2. Tottenham had a total of 7 shots on goal with only 1 on target. So you can see how largely Seny Lomans was untroubled. Big chances created. Man United created 1 big chance. It was 7 corners to 0. Like I said, when you play a game with a Mendes, you're always going to play at a disadvantage. And basically that was the case for Tottenham Hotspurs, literally throughout the entirety of that game, because they had to play more than 60 minutes without the 11th man. So it did cost them, and you could see the frustration with Thomas Frank. But I can almost bet, I wouldn't bet my life on it, but I can bet perhaps $10 on it that Christian Romero will leave Tottenham Hotspurs in the summer. Now, as good as a player he is, as good as a defender he is, and how he can be a goal threat, especially when they go in for set pieces, he is a calamitous player. He will commit silly fouls and mistakes, and oftentimes he can never be on the right side of the referee. Like, he just seems cantus. He's the kind of player that you go into every game thinking, oh my God, you're holding your breath, really hoping against hope that he doesn't get sent off. Sort of reminds me the situation of Mario Balotelli at Inter Milan. You remember that famous quote from Jose Mourinho saying they had a game in the UEFA Champions League, I think. They were playing away. Mario had a yellow card. In the first half, he spent 14 of the 15 minutes of halftime speaking to Mario. Mario, do not tackle anyone. If you lose the ball, do not chase it. If the referee makes a wrong call, do not say anything, just to keep him on the pitch, because he did not have any strikers to substitute on. All his strikers were injured. The likes of Samuel Eto'o, Diego Milito were all out through injury. So they return for the second half, 46 minutes of the game, yellow card, red card of Mario was sent off. So basically, what I'm trying to point out is that he is so calamitous that he will cost you at any one point of the game. It's just something that you have to live with. It's just something that you ought to expect all throughout the game, that at one point or at any one time, he is going to cost you. And basically, he is just that, So I know there's been enormous interest on him from Atletico de Madrid over the enormous interest from him. Apologies on that. There's been enormous interest for his services, with links pointing in the direction of Atletico de Madrid. And I think I was asked that question, somebody asking me, where do you think he will go, Christian Romero? Is it Barcelona or Atletico de Madrid? And I said, I do not look at him as a Barcelona type of player. In any case, he looks more of an Atletico de Madrid kind of player than he is miles away, a Barcelona player. So why do I say he's an Atletico de Madrid type of player? You sort of look at him and is that sort of profile, maybe not in terms of talent and, skill set, but you look at a little bit back at that Atletico de Madrid of Felipe Luis, Diego Godin, Juan Fran, Gabi, that sort of cohort, they were stubborn in their own way. They were hard tacklers, they defended deep and solid. Whereas he doesn't defend so deep and solid, but that sort of adrenaline rush about them. He seems to embody that bit more than you'd find that at Barcelona. So that's why, for me, he is more an Atletico de Madrid player than he would be a Barcelona player. So Man United really looked brilliant on the day. As Michael Carrick recorded his fourth consecutive victory of the Premier League and in his fourth consecutive game in charge of Manchester United as an interim manager. Now, for those of you that care to remember, I think earlier on today or yesterday, I was reading a story on BBC Sport about why Manchester United are delaying or sort of taking their time in the search for a manager. And the writer, whose name I do not recall, was pointing out the fact, some of the points that we pointed out, that the challenge for Man United, one, after the season completes, we're going to be destined for the World Cup. So if they have any level of interest whatsoever in speaking to some of the managers, as has been alluded to by multiple reports, that are in charge of respective national teams, the likes of Thomas Tuchel with the England national team, the likes of Mauricio Pochettino with the USA national team, the likes of Carlo Ancelotti with the Brazilian national team, they will have to wait until the end of the tournament, because usually it does not go down well when you appoint a manager who is a national team manager prior to a big tournament. You remember in 2018 that I think Julian Lopetegui was sacked by Spain, I think about, was it less than 4 days before the start of the FIFA World Cup in Russia 2018, because Real Madrid had confirmed that he had been given the role of head coach at Real Madrid. And guess what? I do not think he lasted even more than 4 months in the job before he got sacked at Real Madrid. Then he wasn't the only one. I'm trying to remember the other. But there was also another case of a manager being appointed for a club job before an international tournament. It usually never works out. First of all, you cause destabilization to the other camp, and I do not think Man United, given their status in English football and the respect they have in and around that sort of model, that they would try to antagonize the England national team by speaking to Thomas Tuchel, who they spoke to before sticking with Erik ten Hag. That was last season. You all remember that at the end of the season, Man United reviewed their performances of the season and concluded that it was the right decision to stick with Erik ten Hag, who had helped them with the FA Cup, where they beat, I think, Man City 2-1 in the final. I stand to be corrected on that, but that was the case. So when they won that, they decided, let's stick with him. Yes, Man United beat Man City 2-1 with Alejandro Garnacho and Kobe Mainoo scoring for Man United, while Jeremy Doku scored for Man City. So, but they spoke to Mauricio Pochettino, they spoke to Thomas Tuchel, they spoke to Kian McKenna of Ipswich Town, Thomas Frank, then still at Brentford. Those are some of the managers they spoke to. Eventually, they decided they would exercise their option to extend Ten Hag's contract by a further year, and then they bought him all the players that he wanted: Matthias de Ligt, Nusa Mazoroi, Manuel Ugarte, who else? I think there's another player in there. I'm trying to remember who he was. But there was another player, Lenny Yoro, but then eventually decided to sack him before the end of November. So really, whereas Michael Carrick is doing well, Man United have walked this footpath before. You remember when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had just taken over, at Man United? You remember, I think it was around December 2018 when they sacked Jose Mourinho, and then Ole Gunnar Solskjaer took over as an interim. And about 3 months into the job, because he had done well, they gave him the role. And I think he won. I think he lost only one game in about 17 fixtures, and then only won one in the last 8. But by that time, they had already handed him. a 3-year contract, So they know the implications of showing any form of impatience when it comes to appointing a manager, when it comes to appointing a manager. So while Michael Carrick is doing tremendously well, I think they will take their time on this one before appointing somebody or before giving him the role. Now, I have a feeling that how he performs could place him among the candidates come the summer, excuse me, he could put himself in the frame for the job because let's be honest, if you're Michael Carrick and you do a very wonderful job as an interim, then you can, as they speak to candidates, you can still vie for the same role and say, guys, look what I've been able to do. If you give me these resources, I'll be able to do it. I'll be able to do it. Like I said, he's a former club player. He knows the ins and outs of the club and things like that. Then I do not think he will be too greedy to ask for a very long-term contract. He could say, give me 2 years, a 2-year contract, And I'm not saying that should entice Manchester United into taking a gamble, given what their aspirations are, that we all know, for the season of 2027-2028, because they want to win the Premier League title in that season. But either way, whichever way you slice it, they got to start somewhere. First of all, according to multiple reports, they want a manager with Premier League experience. That means among the plausible candidates, you have Mauricio Pochettino, you have Enzo Maresca, you have Thomas Tuchel as the leading candidates. Kian McKenna has Premier League experience of 1 season with a newly promoted side that ended up being relegated. So his Premier League experience, what really it's existent, it's quite debatable that it cannot be compared to that of Enzo Maresca, even though Enzo Maresca also spent 1 season and a half. But the difference is the kinds of teams that they were managing and the expectations that are before those teams. Enzo Maresca was at Chelsea, where he won 2 titles or trophies. That's the Conference League and the FIFA Club World Cup. Then Thomas Tuchel, we know he guided Chelsea to the triumph of the UEFA Champions League in 2021. Then we all know Mauricio Pochettino's reputation in as far as the Premier League is concerned. 3 clubs in the Premier League is managed: Southampton, Tottenham, and Chelsea. So that's experience. Then there have been reports citing that there could be interest in the likes of Julian Nagelsmann. Now remember, Julian Nagelsmann is equally with the German national team, but 0 Premier League experience. Luis Enrique, proven winner, no Premier League experience. I do not think he would need it anyway, but because he's still a good manager. Xabi Alonso, no Premier League experience. Premier League experience is as a player, not as a manager. So Man United have a plethora of good managers to choose from, but getting the decision right will be very critical. And then, even we shall never know whether they got it right or wrong until whichever person gets that role stands the test of time. Because you can come in and be a quick firepower, and then before we know it, it fizzles out. Jose Mourinho started on a good note, and then suddenly they thought it's not good enough. In the subsequent season, they showed him the exit. Erik ten Hag started on a good note. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer started on a good note. So you ought to stand the test of time. Then the question becomes, are they willing to give you that time? Because I've thought among all managers that Man United has brought, only 2 were building. Actually 3. Only 3 appeared to be building a team for the longer term objectives. That was Louis van Gaal, Erik ten Hag, in my opinion, and Ruben Amorim. Now, of course, we did not appreciate enough, or we did not appreciate the way Ruben Amorim went about it because of his tactical rigidity. But it goes without saying that he attempted to start building something new. Louis van Gaal, you remember when he brings in Marcus Rashford from the academy, when he brings in players like Anthony Martial, Daley Blind, Marcos Rojo. At the time, I think they signed Angelo Di Maria. It did not work out and he left. Randamel Falcao, Garcia Zarate, Wayne Rooney was still around the team. He had, I think we saw, was Axel Kwanzebe around the same time? The likes of Chris Smalling, and he was shown the exit. Eric Ten Hag started to build something. The incoming of Anthony, Lisandro Martinez, Tyler Malasia. Of course, not all of it worked out. That's the honest bit. Not all of them worked out, but that's the nature of building a team. It's like the same way you want to build a house and you buy bricks. Some bricks get broken. They do not live to the expectation that you have to discard them and use the quality ones to build a stronger foundation. So basically, you need to have gone through that. Go to Manchester City when Pep Guardiola walked in. After telling Joey Hart that he wasn't going to be his goalkeeper, they brought in Claudio Bravo. He did not work out. Then they went for Ederson Morales. Look at what Mikel Arteta has done in building his team. When he came in, it was Bernard Leno. He figured he wanted something more, something different. He went for Aaron Ramsdale. And everybody literally jumped to criticize him. He had him for what? 3 brilliant seasons, 2 of which he was the number 1 starter. And then he decided, I've seen enough of Ramsdale. I need something more. He went for David Raya. And today, David Raya, for 3 consecutive seasons, he's been his number 1 goalkeeper. So look at how he struggled to get a perfect fit for their right back position. Sorry, for their left back position. How many players have been tried there? Takahiro Tomiyasu, not that he failed there, injuries failed him. Ricardo Carafiori, Piero Hincap, Maz Luis Kelly, Yuan Timber has played there. Why? He is trying to get it right. Kian Tierney was there when he joined. He deemed him not good enough. And things like that. So it's hard to build and build. Some people have been used to build to a certain level and then been part ways with because that was their part in the story of building that team. The likes of Granit Xhaka, he did not leave because he was no longer good enough. Look at Alexander Zichenko. The project outgrew him. Look at Takahiro Tomiyasu. Injuries did him bad that the club ended up parting ways with him. Go back to Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. It was, what was deemed as indiscipline that caused his exit. And all the other kinds of, look at Nuno Tavares, look at Fabio Vieira. We're talking about players that have come in and have not worked out, and they've had to let them go. It's a bitter fact, but it is a fact. You remember a goalkeeper called Runarsson, who they brought in from, I've forgotten the club, for about 1 million euros. The biggest waste of money I've ever seen in transfer history of Arsenal. Forget the idea of buying good players and they do not work out. The other one was a bad sign right from the onset. Anyways, so United are going to head down that path or walk that direction. So the question will be: Is Michael Carrick the guy for it or not? If it's not him, then who is it going to be? Who is it going to be? So it's quite interesting to wait and see the kind of conversations we'll be having about Man United sooner or later, So Michael Carrick hinted at a stay, saying, I feel at home. Of course he feels at home. He played for this club. He won 5 Premier League titles with this club, So it's only plausible that he does indeed feel at home. So that's never going to go away. That's never going to go away, So he feels at home because he is at home, So I do not see that as an issue, I do not see that an issue or even up for debate. But anyways, we'll have to wait and see. But it was a very, very beautiful game of football between Manchester United and Tottenham Hotspur. Where I was catching the game from, I couldn't help it but notice Man United fans are awash with optimism, with hope that they can win the Premier League title. Of course, it's okay to dream. It's okay to hope. Given their recent form, winning 4 games in a row, something that I do not remember them doing under Ruben Amorim, it's only just. Success only breeds hunger for more. It only builds on your hope. It only reaffirms your faith. Because as we speak, they're 12 points off the top 4. Sorry, the top spot. They're in 4th place. Now we know, whereas it may not come in quickly as they would hope for it to come, it's not far-fetched to think that the table leaders Arsenal can suddenly drop points, not in 4 consecutive games, but in the next spell of 13 games, and suddenly United, if they think they can afford to be perfect, catch up with them. So the big question will be, who will stop Man United? And then, can United afford to be perfect, realist, or the others fanboy it? Because that's what it will require. But if you're a Man United fan, I'm sure you're pretty excited because of how things look. And how do things look like? That you're already within 2 points behind Manchester City. Sorry, you're already within 3 points behind Man City, within 3 points behind Aston Villa. If you want to know how bad Liverpool this season are having, just remember this, that they are now 4 points behind, actually 5 points behind Manchester United. We're talking about a team that spent the most in the summer, not net spend, but overall spend. Of course, when you factor in the outgoings, then the net spend comes lower, you know. We're talking about a team that had the best transfer window in terms of caliber and quality of the players they brought in. Alexander Isak, Hugo Ekitike, Florian Wirtz, Milos Kakis, Jeremy Frimpong, Georgi Mamadashvili, Giovanni Leoni, you know, all these were summer signings, in addition to what they already had in Mohamed Salah, in Cody Gakpo, in Soboslai, McAllister, Gravenberch, Wataru Endo, Virgil van Dijk, Ibrahim Konate, Andy Robertson, Conor Bradley, you know, Alson Ramsey-Baker, and all that, Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott, you know. And then, of course, in the summer, we got to see the rise of Brian Gomoha. He may have not been afforded the much needed playing time as you'd love to see it, but not too strange for a 16-year-old or coming on 17 thereabout. So yeah, what Man United, keep dreaming. Anything can happen. Let your optimism lead you all the way. All I can say is that it will not be easy. Man United and Chelsea are the 2 most informed teams of the Premier League. They are the only teams to have won their last 4 consecutive fixtures in the Premier League. I think the next team there with a better form record is West Ham, because West Ham have won 3 of the last 5, losing 2. In terms of points, maybe Bournemouth. Bournemouth comes ahead of West Ham because Bournemouth have won 3 and drawn 2 of the last 5, as well as really Everton have drawn 3 and won 2. So, but in terms of looking as perfect as it can be, United and Chelsea are carrying the flag on. They're looking brilliant. The question is, who is going to stop them? And that begs a question for Man United is fixtures. And the beauty about this Man United side is that they do not have so much to worry about. They're out of all of any other competitions that you may come to think about. They have no FA Cup engagement. In fact, Man United, after playing in midweek, and this will be on Tuesday, Tuesday 10th, when they play away to West Ham United, they'll have 12 days before their next fixtures, 12 full days before their next fixture on the 23rd of April, away to Everton, a place that they just know how to win. A team that beat them by 1-0 in the first leg at Old Trafford. So their games are so spaced that they have the luxury of training, actual training. Because if you're Arsenal, if you're Man City, if you're Chelsea, if you're Newcastle, you literally do not have that. You literally do not have that. And why do I say that? It's because after 2 to 3 days, at most 4, you're having a fixture to play. What does that imply? It implies that you play a game, you have maybe a day off if you're lucky, or a recovery session, and after a recovery session, then you prepare for the next game, the video analysis and all the other things. But when it comes to sitting down and training, talking depth in tactics, bringing new ideas to the table, you're not going to have that time. Look at Liam Rossignol. I've said this before. He was tossed into the deep end. Now, he's handled himself perfectly well, because out of 9 games he's managed the club, he's only lost 2, and that was home and away against Arsenal. He's won all the others, beating Pafos in the UEFA Champions League by 1-0, beating Napoli by 3-2 in the UEFA Champions League, beating teams like Crystal Palace, beating teams like Wolverhampton Wanderers, like they did today, beating teams like West Ham United, So they've done really, really well. Now, Man United, as you get driven by optimism, as you get through this whole wishful or desire to try and win the Premier League title, it's not to say that you cannot win all the remaining games, but do remember this: you still have to play Liverpool at home. That will be on 2nd May. We do not know how Liverpool will look like by then. You still have to play Chelsea on the 18th of April. You still have to play Aston Villa on 15th March. You still have a game away at Newcastle. Now, Newcastle, by their own standards this season, are not that scary a team. Brentford just left St. James's Park with a 3-2 victory, thanks to Dango Ouattara's brace and Igor Thiago's penalty. So it's not maybe Newcastle is a winnable fixture, maybe not. Maybe by the time we get to it, the context has changed. Sorry, it wasn't a brace for Dango Ouattara. The other goal scorer was Janald. Yes, Dango Ouattara only provided the assist. Apologies for the mishap there. So, but anyways, if you're Man United and looking on paper for these games, going away to Everton, Man United have always won there, but it doesn't make it an easy fixture, Then, so I'd look at Chelsea, Liverpool, Aston Villa. Those are 3 critical fixtures, because the last thing you'd want is to further slip in your desires. But like I said, it's all wishful desire, optimism, and hope amongst the Manchester United fan base. Allow me move on from Man United. I think we've given them enough. But those 4 wins in a row coming against Man City, Arsenal, Fulham, and now Tottenham Hotspurs. I've told you their next game will come on Tuesday against West Ham United. Now, the reason as why they have 12 days before the Everton game is because they got knocked out of the FA Cup, because next weekend is the FA Cup weekend. So there won't be Premier League fixtures. Now, after that weekend, in midweek, that's when Arsenal will play their game against Wolves, because Newcastle cannot play. They're going to be in the playoffs of the UEFA Champions League. I don't know why Man City do not have a midweek game. Then, whatever the explanation is. So we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, I'm moving on. Arsenal went 9 points clear on top of the Premier League table, and it's over to Manchester City to respond. Can they get a victory at Liverpool tomorrow? It's a place that they've not won since February 2021 when they went to Anfield and beat Liverpool by 4 goals to 1. They struggle to win at Anfield. It's not that they can't, they just struggle to win there. Then, speaking of Arsenal, when you look at the results of 3-0 between Arsenal and Sunderland, one would be quick to sort of draw to a conclusion that this was an easy fixture for Arsenal. It was far from it. And the spacing of the goals will tell you that. Because Sunderland really made it difficult. Sunderland made it difficult. First of all, it was quite physical. For those of you that want to know, look at Brian Brobby's contention for the ball with William Saliba. That was quite the contest. That was a very physical duel. Ricardo Carafiori is one of those players that Akel Yaya says Saka won't play tomorrow. There's no game tomorrow. He would have played today, but he did not play because he's still out injured. He may not be available for the midweek game that will be on Thursday. That's away to Brentford at the GTEC Stadium. Very difficult game for the Arsenal, even though I think they managed to win the first leg by 2 goals to 0, but that was at the Emirates Stadium. Different context. I will give a context to that when we get to the midweek preview and things like that. So, but yeah, it was a difficult game. Sunderland defended really deep. The way they set up their team was with the that system. They had the 4-2-3-1 kind of system. They pressed with numbers. They defended with numbers. Really, it needed a long distance strike from Martin Zubimendi in the 46 minutes for Arsenal to break the barrier. I remember Arsenal struggled to get a shot on target. In the opening, I think, half an hour. They had attempts on goal, but they were not on target. I think Gabriel Jesus was the first player to have an attempt on target. Maybe I stand to be corrected. This was around the 20-something minutes. Do you expect Saka to play in Arsenal women's team or under 17 at this point? Brother, there isn't a game tomorrow. The Legit played today, my friend. Yes, I thank you, Pedri, for correcting KL Yai there. So, anyways, so Sunderland really made it difficult, just the same way they made it difficult for the Arsenal side at the Stadium of Lights. But eventually, Arsenal, and this is what I've been demanding of them, that when you are faced with a team that plays with a low block, oftentimes you're not going to get too much spaces. So that means you need to make a decision in a split second, half a second earlier, for you to gain an advantage. That when you dart into that tiny bit of space, that's when you have to get your shot in. And when you look at that ball that Martin Zubimendi, strikes to beat Robin Rofis in the Sunderland goal, it has a little bit of a swerve to it because the goalkeeper is not far away from the near post where he places it, but it still beats him anyway, So it was a beautiful strike with Leandro Trossard marking his, I think, 50th Premier League assist of the season, providing that assist. And the game, of course, went into halftime. We know that Sunderland, and again, you'll be surprised to find out that Sunderland, although marginally, but they edged Arsenal on ball possession. And this is what I've been literally telling people, that Arsenal this season are capable of winning in many ways. Why? If you want the ball to have majority of the ball, they have no problem leaving it to you. They'll play without it. And Chelsea did that in midweek. But they will still deny you spaces to score anyway. They'll still defend their goal jealously. And then they will find a moment to pounce. And similar to what we saw in the 1-0 win against Chelsea with Kai Havertz scoring, we saw a similar turn of events for their third goal that was scored by Victor Gyökeres, with Gabriel Martinelli providing the assist. You know? And prior to that goal, Victor Gyökeres had also scored to make it 2-0 with Kai Havertz providing the assist. Again, another lapse in concentration. Sunderland have the ball. Instead of playing it out of their back, they decide to go short and they concede possession. Ball lands to Leandro Trossard, plays a quick pass to Kai Havertz, who then passes it to Victor Gyökeres. His first touch, far from convincing once again, but he somehow manages to latch onto that ball as he is falling to his stronger foot to strike the ball to beat the goalkeeper in goal. And it was impressive to watch. I think it was it Aderayete who, was it Mukele? I think it was Mukele in around that zone that should have literally put in his foot to try and make the block, but he didn't. And they got punished, you know. So in the end, like I said, Sunderland had a ball position of 51% compared to Arsenal's 49%. Arsenal had 16 attempts or shots on goal. Only 5 were on target. Sunderland had 5 in total. 3 were on target. Big chances, Arsenal created 1, Sunderland 0. Corners were 5-2. Both goalkeepers made 2 saves. And things like that. So, but it was a beautiful game of football that Arsenal managed to win and kept a clean sheet. Now, in keeping that clean sheet, that means David Raya has kept 13 Premier League clean sheets this season. That's after 25 games played. That's as many as he had in the entirety of last season. Remember, last season, they shared the Golden Glove with Nottingham Forest's Matt Sells at 13 clean sheets apiece. Now, he's bound to beat his individual record because in his debut campaign with Arsenal, which was unknown from Brentford, he kept 15 clean sheets and won the Golden Glove. Now, if with the 13 games left to play, if he can keep at least 4 more clean sheets, then he could finish with 16 clean sheets. Remember, the record for most clean sheets in a single Premier League season still remain with Peter Cech for 2004-2005 Premier League season. I think he had what, 22 or 24 clean sheets? So really, anyways, so again, beautiful game of football to watch. I thought Declan Rice running his socks off. I thought he looked good. Gabriel Jesus, didn't have the best of performances. Noni Madueke, his final product is still lacking. He does all the right things, get into the right spaces, dribble past players, but that final product that he has to deliver is still letting him down, and he needs to practice more on that. Leandro Trossard had a bit of a quiet game, even though he provided the assist for Martin Zubimendi's game. He tried to trouble the Sunderland defenders in the right wing, but Sunderland were overly physical, so oftentimes, he did not get much the better of them. Sometimes he attempted some beautiful crosses. Nobody was there to get to them. So, and things like that. But he had an okay performance. Then Martin Zubimendi, I thought he did well alongside Declan Rice in that midfield. Declan Rice went his socks off. Kai Havertz, I thought he did okay. Substitute Ebelechi Eze, I thought he did fairly okay. He has that lazy pass. I call it a lazy pass. It's more like as he plays it, he makes it look easy, that you may think you should buy boots tomorrow and you also go on the playing turf and get to play out. So, but it's never that simple. But he had one attempt. I think he had about two attempts on goal, but they all went wide of the mark. Victor Gyökeres, perfect cameo, squad a brace. Like I said, Kai Havertz providing the assist in the 66 minutes, while Gabriel Martinelli, who ran literally more than half of that pitch. I mean, everybody thought he was going to go by himself and score, but I thought the defender did well enough to close him that he was forced to pass the ball to Victor Gyökeres, which was the right decision to make. And Gyökeres tapped it into an empty net to make it 3-0 for the Gunners. So beautiful game of football. I thought Ricardo Carafiori sort of struggled a bit in the game. Uran Timber did okay. So yeah, it was a good performance. David Raya did not have much trouble in him. He had those set piece balls and corners where he sort of looked a little bit shaky, but he still managed to come through unscathed. So beautiful game of football, winning there 3-0. Now, that takes me to our predictions for match day 25 so far from the Premier League and Pedri. I'm going to review them and then I will tally our points respectively for before we get into Sunday. Don't worry, guys. I'm just getting my notebook to find out where I noted my personal predictions. Yes. Okay. I need to find Pedri's predictions. Yes. Let's start with Pedri did not qualify for the game on for Leeds. For the Leeds game, I had 2 points because my prediction was Leeds to win 3-1. His prediction was my prediction was for Leeds to win 2-1. His prediction was for Leeds, I think, to win 2-0, but that came after the game, so it doesn't count. So he has 0 there for the Leeds game. Then Man United, I said 2-2. I got 0 points there. Wrong prediction. Pedri said they would win by 3-1. They won by 2-0, so he gets 2 points there. Then in the other games, okay, Aston Villa shared the spoils with Bournemouth in a 1-1 draw. My prediction had been Aston Villa to win that one by 2-1. Realist Pedri thought Aston Villa would win it by 2-0, so we both did not get a point there. Then the other game was between Burnley and West Ham. I went for West Ham to win that game by 3-2. Not a perfect score, but Pedri said West Ham would win by 1-0, so we both get 2 points on that game. That's the West Ham game. Then, okay, moving on. Fulham, I went for a 1-1 draw against Everton, and so did Pedri. We both got it wrong because Fulham won that game. Lost that game by 2-1. For the Aston Villa game and Bournemouth, just to let you know, in terms of the goal scorers, Ryan did score for Bournemouth, while Morgan Rogers had opened the account for Aston Villa, but Ryan is equalizer, so the two sides share the spoils. In the West Ham game, you had goals from Somerville in the 13th minute and Castellanos there, scoring to make it 2-0 by halftime, which turned out to be a clean sheet for West Ham and a victory for the Hammers, who are now 3 points behind Nottingham Forest as they continue to battle relegation. Okay. Then moving on, Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Chelsea. I said, let me see. I went for Wolves 0, Chelsea 3. Not a perfect score prediction, but I got that one right. Pedri has a perfect score prediction for that one. So I get 2 points for the win. He gets 3 for the perfect score. Then Newcastle versus Brentford. I think I went for a Newcastle win. Yes, I went for Newcastle to win by 2-1. That means I got it wrong. Pedri went for Brentford to win 2-1. So he gets 2 points there because they won by 3-2. So he gets an extra 2 points. While I get 0. So we will tally, we'll add on tomorrow's games. Like I said, tomorrow, Brighton are in action against Crystal Palace. For that game, I went with Brighton. I went Crystal Palace to win that one 2-1. Pedri said, let me see. Pedri's prediction is for Brighton to lose by 0-0 against Crystal Palace. Then Liverpool versus Man City. Pedri thinks Man City will win the game by 2-1. I went for a 1-1 draw between the two sides. So that wraps up. That will wrap it up tomorrow, and then tally up, the points and get to the totals. And by Monday, I will give the final total tomorrow. So, for the game between Fulham and Everton, there were two own goals in there by Miakarenko. He scored an own goal. This was in the 18th minute to give Fulham the lead, while Keenan Brisbane Hall scored in the 75th minute to restore parity for Everton before Bernard Leno's own goal gave, David Moyes all 3 points. In the game between Wolves and Chelsea, Cole Palmer had a first half hat-trick thanks to two penalties in the 13th minute and the 35th minute, as well as a goal in the 38th minute to give Chelsea a 3-1 victory, while Arokodare scored in the 54th minute for what turned out to be a mere consolation for Wolverhampton Wanderers. I did not get to watch that game, so I cannot give you much insights of how it turned out. Newcastle versus Brentford, a very open-ended game, and Newcastle will only dread their own mistakes for not being solid at the back, as we know they can be, because they ended up losing that game by 3-2. But Stephen Botman from a header scored to make it 1-0, while Janelt scored to restore parity. Then Brentford got a penalty. This was in the second minute of stoppage time of the first half, and Igor Thiago scored from the penalty spot to extend his personal tally to 17 Premier League goals this season. And then in the 79th minute, Newcastle got a penalty, and Bruno Guimaraes, the Newcastle captain, stepped up and scored to make it 2-2, really extending his individual tally to 9 Premier League goals this campaign. And in the 85th minute, Dango Ouattara scored. Remember, he scored in their 1-0 victory over Aston Villa last weekend. And this was another game away from home for Brentford, So he scored even today to make it 3-2, and that's how they won the game. That is why I was telling you that Arsenal's next game, which will be against Brentford at the GTEC Stadium, is going to be a very, very difficult game. While they've been winning there in recent times, they're going to face a different monster. We're talking about the Brentford side that only lost to Man City at home marginally by 1-0. That goal scored by Brad Erling Haaland. Then they beat up against Man United there. They beat up against Liverpool. They beat up against Newcastle. They've literally been giant killers in as far as their results are concerned this season at home. So they've done really, really well, for themselves. Brentford home results. Let me see if I can, give you all those results. So in those results, there was a victory, for example, against what was it? Leeds? No. Yes, there was a 2-2 draw between them and Chelsea at the same venue. This was around September. They beat Aston Villa, knocked them out of the EFL Cup in the third round at home, 4-2 on post-match penalties that preceded a 1-1 draw. Then in terms of chance, they beat Man United by 3-1 at home. They beat up against Liverpool by 3-2 at the same venue. They beat Newcastle by 3-1 at the same venue. So that's how good they've been at home. That's how I remember. I think when Tottenham went there to the GTEC Stadium, that game ended in a goalless draw. So they've not been an easy team at home, nor have they been away from home, because in recent times they've gone to the Hill Dixon Stadium and beaten up against Everton by 4-2. They've gone away to Aston Villa and won by 0-0. They've gone to the St. James's Park and won by 3-2. So Keith Rose, for me, if he manages to finish within the top 8, he will go down as the Premier League manager of the year, of the season for me, really. Because I did not expect him to be performing this well. He's really, really taken me by surprise. I was one of those that expected that Brentford would struggle, that they would be in a relegation battle. But yeah, they've really, really surprised me. And I wasn't the only one. Many of us thought that because of the departure of Thomas Frank and the entire backroom staff. We're talking about a rookie manager who had only been at the club for no more than 7 months. as a set piece coach, So, but it is what it is. Then, like I said, tomorrow action does continue. Brighton take on Crystal Palace at 5 p.m. while Man City play away to Liverpool at 7:30 p.m. Speaking of elsewhere, in the other results from today, elsewhere, Barcelona were 3-0 winners against Mallorca in the Spanish La Liga, while the game between Rayo Vallecano and Rio Oviedo was postponed. I wish Pedro was still here with us to let us know why it was postponed. While Real Sociedad put 3 past Elche, while Elche scored only 1. In the German Bundesliga, Hamburg SV beat up against Heidenheim by 2-0. Hamburg there, Fabio Vieira did provide one of the assists in that game, while okay, that's an on loan from Arsenal. That's why I needed to find out. Freiburg beat up against Werder Bremen by 0-0. Mainz 05 beat up against Augsburg by 2-0. St. Pauli beat VfB Stuttgart by 2-1. VfB Wolfsburg lost to Borussia Dortmund by 2-1. I think as they recorded their fifth consecutive victory in the German Bundesliga. Borussia Mönchengladbach and Bayer Leverkusen shared the spoils in a 1-1 draw, while in the Italian Serie A, Napoli needed a late penalty from Rasmus Hojlund, narrowly getting away with that one to win against Genoa by 3-2. Napoli are finishing the game with the manless following the sending off of Juan Jesus. But Rasmus Hojlund scored a brace in that one, while Scott McTominay was the other scorer for Antonio Conte's side. Then also Fiorentina and Torino shared the spoils in a 2-2 draw, while in the French League One, RC Lens beat up against Stade Rennes by 3-1. Brest beat Lorient by 2-0, while Nantes 1-0 behind against Olympique Lyon. That game is in the 99th minute or in the 9th minute of stoppage time. So those are some of the results that I thought you should be made aware of from elsewhere around Europe in as far as Saturday is concerned. Like I said, action does continue tomorrow. That's on Super Sunday. Real Madrid will be in action tomorrow against Valencia in the late kickoff at 11 p.m. Real Betis will play against Atletico de Madrid at the Wanda Metropolitano. These two guys met in midweek in the Copa del Rey quarterfinals, and Atletico de Madrid put 5 past Real Betis. Sevilla will be up against Girona, while Levante will play away at San Mamés against Athletic Bilbao. Then Getafe will be away to Deportivo Aves. In the German Bundesliga, Bayern Munich have Hoffenheim at 7:30 p.m., while earlier on at 5:30 p.m., FC Cologne will take on RB Leipzig. In the Italian Serie A, Bologna will take on Parma at 2:30 p.m., while at 5 p.m., Lecce will be up against Udinese. At 8 p.m., Sassuolo will welcome Inter Milan, while in the late kickoff at 10:45 p.m., Lazio will be playing away to Juventus. In the French League One, Nice will be up against Monaco at 5 p.m., while at 7:15 p.m., you will have 3 games between Auxerre and Toulouse. Between Angers and Toulouse, Auxerre and Paris FC, while Havre will be at home against Strasbourg. And then at 10:45 p.m., Paris Saint-Germain will be up against Olympique Marseille. That's the games that you should be expecting in as far as tomorrow is concerned from your major 5 leagues across Europe. Unless there is any question for me, but I wish to, wrap it up here and wish to say thank you so much. Icon Edit House, thank you so much. Medina, thank you so much. Pedri, thank you so much. XX Rose, thank you so much. Fadez, thank you so much. KLY, Yai, and every single one of you that is managed to tune into the broadcast, that is managed to be part of tonight's conversation. Your time, love, and support are not taken for granted. We do appreciate you a great deal. Continue watching what we do. Go over to the short section and watch those short clips. Go over to the video section and watch all our content that we put up. Tomorrow, if the time allows, we could we could record something for you. I will see how things go. But yeah, for now, stay blessed and have a wonderful Sunday. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Remember, there's no morning broadcast on Sunday. Bye bye for now. Stay blessed.